And the government of this premier, they had. Good evening. Now let's see comments on destinations and get comments. Okay, so if you are here, should you just post a comment to let me know that you're here? Just say hello or something. I would like to know whether I can see the comments, and then if you have any comments during our session, if I haven't said comments enough times, then I will be able to put your comment up. But today we are talking about the art and science of the book. Now, welcome to Writer's Room. My name is Eme Basi, and I help storytellers and change makers to get seen and get heard in the online space and to get attention. So today's class, because today I think I'm going to do mostly teaching. We last week we talked about the importance of storytelling and how powerful storytelling is. So this week we're actually hi Carolina, um, you're in Brussels. Oh, nice to hear from you. So I last week we talked about the importance of storytelling, and obviously storytelling is something that's been around for thousands of years. And then we talked about how storytelling gets your attention, it builds trust, it builds loyalty, and then of course in the online space you can use storytelling in your writing. So generally in your content creation, so you can use storytelling in your emails, email marketing, in your webinars, in your YouTube channel, your podcast, you know, just having it as a skill that you can build. So even though the writer's room initially when we started was made really for people to learn about copywriting and email marketing, it's also valuable for anybody who wants to get attention, get noticed, become unforgettable. In other words, to become the storyteller for their business or for their passion project or that kind of thing. So last week we talked about how important that is. This week we're going straight into how to tell stories. And one of the first things that you want to learn is the art and the science of the hook. So it's not something that comes naturally to everybody. Many of the people that we pay attention to are very deliberate about creating hooks and very deliberate about delivering a hook when they are telling their stories. Now, let me explain to you what a hook is. Um, Basically, a hook, and I actually do have it here. A hook is something that gets people interested. So a hook is something that, by my definition here, let me just look for it. If I can just, yeah, by my definition here, a hook is an attention grabbing statement that builds curiosity and contains a promise of things to come. So basically, a hook is something that makes people to pay attention, and that's really what you want to do. Last week we talked about how there are a lot of distractions around, there's a lot of noise around, and you want people to actually pay attention to you because that's the first thing that you want to do. You want to get attention. If you have the best message or the best product, you cannot really people cannot benefit from it until you have their attention. And that is where the hook comes in. The hook is that thing that, as the word says, hooks them and draws them in. Is what makes somebody stop scrolling. They're scrolling. It's usually a hook that would make you stop scrolling. you can do that visually, but also you can do that with the words that you say. So it can be the opening of a story, it could be the first couple of sentences in a letter, it could be even inside the subject line of your email. So I wrote somewhere here that subject line of your email could be a hook, but the a hook is not always the subject line. So the subject line doesn't always have to be a hook, you know. But the hook is something that, like I said, it's a statement that you make that contains the promise of what to expect. So there can be in the hook, you can be there can be curiosity. Curiosity is if you find a way to make people curious or to contain a bit of a surprise or give them a bit of anticipation with your hook, that is going to be a great way to grab the attention. It's always an attention grabber. Um, Last week I talked about how I plan to go and watch Mission Impossible. Now every Mission Impossible um, movie, once you start watching it, as soon as you start watching it, it's not a case of Ethan Hall woke up from sleep, then he went and made himself a coffee or whatever. Usually, it is once the story starts, it starts like right in the middle of the action. That is a serious hook. That is something that's just going to like grab your attention. What's going on here? Why is he running? Why is he rushing to put the thing in the suitcase? Why is he underwater? Why is he jumping out of an aeroplane? So those kind of things are the things that grab your attention because it's not just it's not just motion. Motion can help. That's why a lot of people do this dancing and things, which is, just makes me roll my eyes. But motion can help, but it's more that curiosity. So the motion might grab your eyeball, but it is what's going on there that makes you curious. It makes you actually start telling yourself a story. So that's where if you remember what we talked about last week, we talked about when a story is being told, you are participating in the story. So even as you are watching the person running or swimming underwater, you're already beginning to um, formulate a story in your mind that they are going to kind of like the watch. If you watch a bit more, you fill in the gaps. So that is what a hook can do. So, like I said here, a hook can be when it comes to writing, and even to writing scripts for your video, you know, it could be a question, it could be a bold promise, it could be a controversial statement, you know, things like that um, make the hook work. Now, one other thing that makes the hook work is that a hook needs to be personal. So a hook needs to be personal in the sense that when you are making a hook, you have to um, you have to what's that word? You have to make it such that you have to speak to the person that you are expecting to be listening to you, or you have to speak about the person that you expect to be listening to you. So that person, and obviously depending on what your business is or what you're talking about, you have to come at it from an angle that would be relevant to them. So a hook is personal or personalized, it is relevant. So like you can ask a question. Yes, a few days ago I came across this guy. His name is Devin Jatto. Devin Jatto on Instagram, and he was really good at telling stories, and he also gave a freebie of um, 30 hooks or so, and many of them are just like questions, but they are very relevant. Like if you make a video and you start it with that question, it's going to stop somebody. If you say, if you've been doing this, if you've been doing X by doing Y, then you know you're wrong, or you need to stop doing this because it's costing you that. Those kind of things, those kind of powerful, controversial statements can be a great hook that helps people now, you know, stop and pay attention and like, oh, what's he talking about? Or I need this information, um, or I don't agree with what this person is saying. I want to hear the argument or whatever he's having or he's making. So that there's many things that, I mean, obviously once something has curiosity, it becomes a good hook. If it builds anticipation, it becomes a good hook. It doesn't have to be a short sentence. A hook can actually be like a story, like a situation. It could be like, imagine if you were blah 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 and blah 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 blah. What would you do? That can be a great hook, and then that now starts the discussion. Or a hook can be something that happens in the news. And the more when I explain this to you, you begin to see them all around. These are the tools that journalists use. These are the tools that magazines use. So a hook can be a headline. A headline doesn't always is not always a hook, but you can put a hook in a headline. You can put a hook in the headline of a magazine. You can put a hook in the headline of like I said, a newsletter or a sales page or that kind of thing. So now the thing is, um, and I'm looking at the time because I'm trying to keep these really short. We will be done in at least in the at most 15 minutes. So what happens with the online space is that people tend to be on autopilot. The other day, I put my phone in my fridge, and then I don't know what I was doing. I was doing something, and I was on autopilot. And before I knew what had happened, I was looking for my phone. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone? And then I just opened my fridge and there it was. So I'm sure you've seen those kind of situations in your life where you're like, you're doing things on autopilot, even driving a car or whatever. Sometimes you drive all the way home, you don't even remember yourself, you don't even remember the route that you took because everything was on autopilot. So this is what's happening these days. A lot of people go through life almost in on autopilot more than half the time. And because of that, they usually need something that can snap them back, So something that is unusual, something that is like a surprise, or something that is the easiest way would be to do shock and awe. But I like shock and awe, in the sense that you might say something that's shocking, but it's not always about saying something that's shocking. You can say something that just makes somebody deeply curious. You might say something that makes somebody like really say, hey, this person is saying what I've been thinking all this time. So that is the hook. I mean, the Simon Cowells, when Simon Cowell became famous because he was saying things that people were thinking, but afraid to say. So sometimes you might say that thing that, a lot of people think the thing, but they don't want to say it. And then you say it, and then it becomes, grabs people's attention because like, oh, yes, I was thinking, that was what I was thinking. I didn't want to say it, so that's what I noticed, but I didn't want to mention it. So, um, so the purpose of the hook is is what is going to make your reader or your listener to consume the rest of your information. So you have this package, you have this information, you have this thing for sale, you have this product, or you have this message or just this video that you want people to watch, you know, you need to start with a hook. A lot of people say maybe the first three sentences, the first 3 seconds rather, of your video, you have to grab attention, and the more you watch videos after this, you start noticing, okay, these are the videos that I watch, and these are the ones I stay with. These are the, I'm even trying to improve on it as well. As I'm teaching, I'm also learning as well. That once you start a video, yeah, let's say for instance now, this is just an example. Let's say I want to do a live. If you go live, you never go live and you start saying, oh, let's wait for people to come. Oh, let's wait for people to come. Oh, let's wait for people to come. Oh, hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? Those kind of things, the people that your very good friends would say, most people that come across you would not. So what you need to do is go jump straight into the deep end. That's the whole point. You're telling the story, but when you start the story, you don't start the story by starting the story from once upon a time. You start the story from the action part. So this is where I said a hook can be a point of conflict, a point of peril. So where there's danger, something, you could start, okay, let's say you could start to say a story by saying, or an email, say, oh, that it was the worst day of my life, or there was, or that I have never felt so insulted in my life, or I slammed my hand on the table, because I was so angry. That is the beginning of your story. As soon as I say, or as soon as you say, I slammed my hand on the table, or as soon as I say, um, I was so glad to finally be on dry land, something like that. Already, the listener's mind is already going into storytelling mode and is already beginning to, start looking for the pieces. What could have happened? You know, was it because of this? Was it because of that? And then they are now engaged and they are now part of your action. So you start the story in quotes in the action part. You can also a hook can also be something as simple as calling out your ideal client. So you're going to use words that they describe themselves, like, oh, I always use the word yummy mommy. I don't even know that anybody still uses that, use yummy mommy, or weekend warriors, or what's the other one? Different things that people call themselves, so if you call yourself, if you know that your ideal clients refer to themselves as a particular by a particular name or a particular phrase, or they describe their life or their whatever, by calling that out, or even just calling them out, like attention, busy moms, or attention, um, moms of kids that are 2 years old, or moms of triplets, whatever. Once you call out your ideal client, that acts as a hook, because it's not everybody that is going to take that beat, but the person who is the mom of the triplet, who has is sleep deprived, and you call them out, they're going to immediately pay attention to you. So that is the long and short of it. What I want you to get from today, is one, you good stories would always start with a hook. A good story, whether you are writing it or you are going to make it a video, like a short form video or a reel or something, you always need to start with a hook. And hooks are everywhere. You can find them. You can get examples. You can actually create yourself. And what I would do rather is create a swipe file. So if I see a sentence, if I see a sentence that I like, or a phrase that I like, I keep it and I store it, because I know that I can use this phrase. If maybe somebody says something and describes something in a certain way, I would keep that and use it later, or use it in a sentence. You know, um, if you watch what's the name of this guy now? What's his name? Jeremy, the car guy. What's his name? Anyway, the former car guy. I think it's Jeremy Clarkson. If he's not, forgive me, Jeremy Clarkson. But he has a very great. He has a great way with words, and that was, he would use metaphors and he would describe. There's the way he would describe things. Describe his experiences of driving a car, and maybe he would describe this car as well as driving his sewing machine or something. So he would use words that were very evocative. So words that, would make you feel words that you can actually picture what he's talking about. And usually there are things that are very what's that word now? They're very the thing that comes to my mind is guttural, but that's not a word. Something that actually makes you feel it in your guts, like if you had described something that's slimy or something that's crunchy or something that's scratchy or something that makes you have that feeling. So those kind of words or word patterns or word combinations, using them together um, can help you to create paint a picture that makes like a very good hook. So, like I said, hooks are everywhere. Hooks are attention grabbers. You always put a hook at the beginning of your thing. Hooks are curiosity is a very good curiosity and anticipation are very good ways to create a hook. You already know what you want to say. You already know what you want to say, but instead of just standing up to say, "Oh, this is this dress, you can buy it in £7 or it's £72 or whatever," you know, if you make a hook that will make people then pay attention, then you can take them on a journey and explain whatever it is that you want to explain to them, eventually ending up selling whatever it is that you want to sell. So this is our first lesson on how to tell a story. And I think this is a good place to start, with the art and the science of the hook. I hope that you are able to kind of pay attention. It's not so much go and study this or go and study that. Just begin to pay attention to what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what's grabbing your attention, what's not. How are people, because a lot of these things that you see, they don't just happen by chance. People sit down and plan them and say, okay, this is the word I'm going to use, or these are this sentence I'm going to use, this is the first sentence I'm going to say, this is the question I'm going to ask as soon as I go on my video, that kind of thing. Those things are done very intentionally. Um, so that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, come on, okay. So that's what I wanted to say. That you always start with a hook. If not, you end up being ignored, and a lot of people will not see or hear what you have to offer. And obviously, as we say, or as I say, what I really want to do is teach storytelling to change makers, because people who are change makers are people who have something that they want to deliver to the world, that is a maybe a God given gift or a message or a product that they want to deliver to the world. So being able to deliver that powerfully, so that what you have, what you're carrying, you're able to actually take it from where you are and hand it, or in quote, deliver it to whoever needs to be delivered to. You need to be very intentional about creating these great channels of communication. And one great way that you can do it is storytelling. And one great way that you can start your stories is with a hook. So we will continue our conversation to next week, Tuesday, on I'm not even going to say what I'm going to talk about, because I said something last week and I'm talking about something else something this week. It's something during this week I just came across this and I was like, oh no, I have to talk about the art and the science of the hook. You know, I've been talking a lot about attention and getting attention online, and how attention is the currency online. So you can get attention with the things that you do, but also with the words that you say, and with the stories that you tell. Storytelling, stories themselves get attention, but how to tell the story so that they are compelling, so that people actually pay attention, you have to learn certain tips and tricks. One of the things I said about attention is is being repetitive or repetition. Yeah, I said that it's also in one of the emails that I put on my newsletter. So talk about the repetition. So saying the same thing over and over again in different ways, and so that you get that attention that you want. And then the second one, obviously, is storytelling, and now getting down to the nitty gritty, we're talking about using the hook in your words, in what you say on your videos, on your podcast. Always starting whatever it is they are saying with a hook. You can start the whole thing with a hook. You can start sections of it with each section has a hook. So that is what um, I think we're going to stop there for now. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m., same time, same place. And we shall continue our discussion about how to tell a story. There's many, many. I have about 12 different hacks that I would like to share with you, and this is just one of them. So I hope to see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Have a good evening. Thank you for coming, and bye.